Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Jon Myer Podcast. Now, today's guest is Evgeniy, who's a returning guest on the show, and we're talking about soft skills in tech. Evgeniy, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much. Always pleasure to be on the show. We had a lot of fun last time, and I hope it's going to be fun and educational this time as well.
Evgeniy, before we were actually talking about security, but you're an author now talking about soft skills, specifically soft skills in tech. You have a book out there, Architecting Success. Let's talk about it. What do you mean by soft skills in tech?
This is an amazing and interesting topic because soft skills can be a lot of different things. And there's also quite a lot of controversy is being on video or presenting a soft skill. If doing a POC, basically proof of concept as soft skills. And the way I divide it, we have the core skills that are soft skills, and then where we using them. So for example, communication, it's an overall soft skill. Empathy is an overall soft skill. Curiosity, we'll talk about this more, is a core skill. Vulnerability, in my mind, is very important soft skill. Ability to talk, it's kind of in between because communication, but this is where we use. If I need to go and present, the presentation itself, it's probably not a soft skills. But what goes into presentation, the way I use my voice, the way I connect with the audience, the way I communicate, do I have filler words? I don't have filler words. It's soft skills. Ability to create a hook and understand what to talk with John about, or do a reverse hook to let John ask me a question. It's in my mind a soft skill. Active listening. Learn when to shut up, excuse my French, and let somebody else talk and not to interrupt. It's all soft skills. Understanding how John consume information. What type of person is John that I can deliver the information in the ways that John wants. Now, my book is about sales. But if you think about that, we all selling all the time. Which which program we're going to use for recording? Zoom, Riverside, StreamYard. Which movie we're going to watch in the evening? Which show or which restaurant we're going to go later on? What is the project we're going to be focusing internally in the company? Can I sell you my new idea in the company? Can I ask for a raise? I'm actually selling you the idea that you need to get me a raise inside the company. So while soft skills sounds very fluffy, they're actually not so fluffy. They require a lot of human being and a lot of getting out of the comfort zone. I was presenting last week at a conference and I made this analogy. If you ask ChatGPT, how you doing, how you doing, how you doing, how you doing, you're going to have the same answer pretty much. There's going to be no variation. If I ask John, how you doing, probably on the fifth time, you're going to punch me in the face.
Well, if ChatGPT does that, I'd be very intrigued. Evgeniy, what you're really talking about is not only tech, but soft skills in general in life. Because no matter what, you and I are doing soft skills now. Know when to listen, know when to communicate, ask the questions, be intrigued, consume the data. But outside of just our normal business life, if you think about soft skills, you're communicating with maybe another parent or you're communicating with the person on the street. You're utilizing some of those soft skills in general, not only to learn more, but it's not like you're selling something, but you are because you're selling that information. You're selling that communication.
This is the interesting part. First of all, I agree with you, but I'm kind of afraid to go to personal life because it's a completely different story, completely different podcast. The problem we have in our work life is that many individuals prefer to be stuck behind a laptop, behind the screen, and say, I'm okay with the machine. I'm okay to program develop. I don't want to interact with a human being. In our personal life, we kind of have to. We have kids, we have spouses, so we have no choice. We may be not doing this all the time very well, but we have no choice. While in our professional life, we can live for 20 years and be stuck in a corner doing an amazing work and be afraid to raise our opinion or be afraid to go and speak on stage or go and work in a team and grow as a human being.
Evgeniy, but okay, so coming back to the business life, a salesperson has to have and excel at soft skills. A leader, a manager, a boss has to excel at these soft skills in order to interact with not only the employees, but the uppers and everybody. As a salesperson, if you don't have these soft skills, do you think you're going to be successful?
think you're going to be struggling or you're going to be moving to more of the transactional stuff. Here's what you buy, let's say buy. And if you think about that, I'll digress for a second. In 2, 3 years, the AI will take over. Everything that I need more license, 2 or 3, I need another program. Probably the AI will do all the things. And the more complicated deals, where we need multiple things, will, I hope so, will still remain with a human being. So if I'm a salesperson and I, hi, John, how you doing? Here's my phone. It's an amazing phone. It has 500 gigs of memory and 50 megs of camera. Can you buy one? You're like, probably not. Also, we need to understand that majority of the human beings and the customers are very, very educated. If I'm jumping on a call with John and John wants to sell me widgets, I can probably go to ChatGPT and put widgets.com, wherever the John is working. And if the company is not out of style for 2 weeks, ChatGPT will at least give me an idea what the company does. So when we jump on a call, you don't need to explain the entire history of the company and waste 8 minutes or 15 minutes of my life.
I'm right there with you. I can I when we get onto customer calls, when I was actually working for a couple companies, the first 10 slides, and by the way, I'm not a fan of slides, were about the company. We're this, we have all this, we have all this. And 9 times out of 10, the people on the other side just want to skip to the important part and how you're going to help me, not as a transaction, but as a person, as a company.
So let's get back to the idea of soft skills in a salesperson. I think if the salesperson has at least curiosity to learn, they will able to adapt and understand. If they're like a brick, there's only one way to do it. 1 and 2, that 1 and 0 and 1, that is going to be very, very hard.
Yep.
Because when we jump on a call and we have these discussions a lot with the vendors, if the customer, so let's do 2 scenarios. First, you call the customer and you're trying to sell them something new that you don't know if they need. So you're doing a lot of education. 2, a customer reached to you, they want something from you. These scenarios will be a bit different. In the first scenario, you say, Mr. Customer, we usually do that. I need 8 minutes to do the presentation, do the demo, and then we'll go do questions, for example, because you have a flow to impress the customer. Even so, there's an opportunity for the customer to say what they need. In a second part, when the customer reached to you, my personal view, you don't have to agree or disagree, is you ask the customer, Mr. Customer, I can show you demo, I can do a presentation, I can talk about architecture, I can talk about the idea. So we kind of give them some 4 different choices, putting a bit of guardrails, and let the customer choose how they want to consume the information. So this is, I think, very, very important because we all learn differently. The other part, and it's kind of funny because we all know that the salesperson, like, oh, look at my presentation. I spent so much time to create it. It's so amazing. And my marketing team is amazing. There's so many digital nice images. And then the SE, I spend the entire night putting this environment on AWS, Azure, or whatever it is. The moment you see the demo, you're going to be blown away. But do you ask the customer what the customer wants? Like, just ask the customer what they need, what they want, and how they want to consume the information, and go from there. So put the customer first, understand what they need, and flow with them. But yeah, give some bit of guardrails, understand where it goes. And of course, we have this companies that, oh, you saw the demo. Can you do a POC? He's like, why you want to do a POC? Did the customer told you they want it? Are you going to be wasting somebody time? Let's understand if this actually aligned to the customer needs. Let's understand what the customer want to do. Show some vulnerability, ask the customer. Show some vulnerability and ask the customer for guidance. What is the best next step, Mr. Customer? Don't try to just push them down this road that we need to do a POC or something like that.
Isn't that traditional sales that you should be asking the customer what their needs are, finding out and asking a bunch of information and tailoring the needs towards the customer to help them solve their problem and without presenting? Because I like scenario number 2, to be honest with you, what the customer needs, and I will do that presentation or I will work through that methodology versus I have something and pushing it onto a customer.
Yeah, I'm sighing right now because unfortunately there is no one way. And we always say in cyber, it depends. Because not just cyber, in some cases, the customer trying to understand if they need to. Or again, if number one, you are pitching to a customer, they don't even know if they need to. But until they like see this, like, oh, I didn't know this capability even exists. But now I know it exists. I can do X, Y, Z. So we're doing educational part. And in some cases, unfortunately, the customer may fully know how they want stuff. So it's a kind of a balance when you're playing and understanding. And I think this is where the soft skills play a critical role. And I think this is the important part right now. Is it became harder because if we're on a call, so right now it's only two of us. I can see you, you can see me. Not fully, but you can still see me. So, some more example, if I'm going to go out of the frame and write notes, you don't know if I'm writing notes or I'm doing spaghetti. If there's four or five, six people on the call, we don't know, see everyone. So it's hard to look for facial expression. It's hard to understand if the information I'm providing actually resonate with you. Now, what if the customer not even on video? Then it's become a problem because I don't know right now if what I'm saying makes sense. Or maybe you just have another screen and it's in the book that people don't understand always how all the screens works. So they will look on a side and different camera. I'll still see John eyes, but you're gonna see the side of my face. And you will not have a good experience. I will because actually I have a duplicate screens and I use a teleprompter as well. Or the customers will look on a different screen and say, yeah, yeah, this is amazing. Oh my God, such an amazing presentation. And then basically scrolling LinkedIn.
You're kidding. Oh my God. I think that's like every Zoom call or presentation for that one. Or, like when you're on a call and and there's no obligation to turn on the camera, but when you're on a call and there's no camera on, you don't know if they're really paying attention or they're catching the last like 5 to 10 seconds of
Can
it.
you ask them? I'm going to interrupt you. Can you? What do you think? Is it okay? And I'm wondering what your audience, if somebody going to comment eventually, do you think it's okay to join in a call and politely ask the other person, would this be okay to turn on a camera?
I think it's a catch 22 because basically you're making them feel obligated when they say, no, I don't want to. And then you put them in that awkward position. And then, as if you are the person trying to help solve their problem, you just created a kind of an awkwardness and they already want it in
Fair,
the call.
fair. I agree. But then is the problem eventually. Again, I understand that it's not always can happen. And for what I'm doing for myself, this is my
Yep.
view. If I join on a call and I'm writing notes, I'll tell the other person, by the way, you maybe see me going out of the screen because I'm writing notes. If I'm joining on a call and I cannot be on video from a variety of reasons, maybe I'm walking right now or I'm driving because I had no time to come to the meeting, whatever the reason sometimes happen, I'll tell the people, guys, by the way, I usually on video, but today I cannot be on video or I'm not feeling well to be on video.
Yep.
Now, what I see in many cases, people wearing baseball hats because they don't want to make the hair. People say, "Oh, I have a messy background." It's like, okay, why? If you're in sales position, not the customer, it's your responsibility to create a nice background, have a green screen, have whatever it is. Like, by the way, doesn't cost a lot of money. There's a green screen behind me. You
I
can
remember that
create.
green screen. I was thought we were going to see it this time around.
There's ways to play with your environment that the other person on the other side will have a good impression and a good feeling. The same as you go to a customer, you're gonna probably dress nice, have a nice shoes, spend some money to have a dress code.
Evgeniy, do you think soft skills are something that is learned or naturally within somebody? Do you learn it throughout environment? Because when I envision a salesperson, obviously getting started in sales, some people already have that natural ability to communicate with people, to present, to really connect with them and to solve their problem, while others make it into sales later in life only through a transition or testing it out.
So we have this idea of natural born salesperson, like did you actually came with this or you learned this? And I think it's variety. The same as people, can you run fast? You can run fast, but you maybe not going to be on the level of somebody that kind of came naturally with this ability. But there is a lot of skills that, in my view, very, very, very trainable. I don't want to make the analogy, but it is like we all like dogs. We can be trained if we want to. Now, dogs may have no choice. We, as a human being, have full choice on what we want to do. And I'm saying this in a good way. Don't take it to the bad idea. And what I'm saying this. So here's an interesting analogy. If you have a tooth pain or back pain, what would you do? You go to a doctor. You seek to analyze. When you're coming to a new environment, a new house, when you buy a house, what do? You ask for an inspector to come in and inspect the house because you want to understand what needs to be fixed. When you're coming to the new environment in cyber, or not just cyber, we're doing gap assessment. We want to understand what's happening. How many of us doing a gap assessment on ourselves? How
Oh,
many of
not at
us?
all. I mean, because it's, yeah, but the thing with a self assessment is it's almost like evaluating your own environment and not having somebody come from the outside. So, and I'm going to use an example here, real quick, of a self assessment. We'll get back onto the topic. But when you do a self assessment, your answers are definitely going to be better off than somebody from a third party does it. Because if you think of it like, I mean, AWS, well architected review, you could do a self assessment with that, but it's so much better when you have an outside company who can ask those specific questions, because that comes back to the soft skills where you're connecting with them. You're not trying to make them look bad, but what you're trying to do is really understand their environment. So I think if you are truly honest with yourself, you can do a self assessment, but I'm not going to say 9 out of 10. I'm going to say 7 out of 10. It's going to be a little bit better off than somebody else doing it for you.
So I agree with you, and I want to kind of expand this part. So one, we can do self-assessment. Two, we can talk to our buddies, people that really, really knows. Hey, do I interact with people? Do I do I talk in meetings? Do I have issue to presenting? Do I look awkward when I present or or doing some work? So I think it's a good idea to have different views because people that know you for a long time will help you to point out what you know.
Yep.
And then there's external help. The part that's very, very cool and interesting is voice. When I decided to take a voice training, and I not always spoke as I'm speaking right now, I spoke very fast. I used to mumble. I'm a second time immigrant. I used to have quite a lot of filler words, and I
Yep.
pretty much almost remove majority of them. I sometimes say so and awesome, but it took time. And the interesting part, a bit of tidbits, you're not removing filler words, guys and girls. Listen to this. You're replacing them with a pause.
Yep.
This is my view.
The
Don't
power of the
try to
pause.
Yes, don't try to remove them because you cannot really say everything at the same time without any pause. You have to have a pause in between. So instead of saying hi, hi, I'm Evgeny, like today we'll talk, we just say hi, I'm Evgeny. Today we'll talk about the show and about soft skills. It takes time, but it's much easier to replace it with the pause than try to remove them as well. Now, majority of the people don't understand that the voice can be analyzed and trained as well. My trainer actually used to say that the voice is not a dog on a leash that you drag behind you. It was very, very interesting the way he explained this. No, it's actually something you can work in. When I went and worked with him, I realized I have high pitch, low pitch, and nothing in between. So we
Mm-hmm.
work to expand and it's become much easier. We also I realize that I don't need to remove my accent. I'm okay with my accent. It's me, it's part of Evgeny.
Yep.
So I was able to find myself. This is quite important. And there's many, many different things in soft skills. So let's get back about soft skills. Can you be trained? Here is one part that I realize, and not just me, by reading books as well. If there is a part you don't like to do, it's probably what you need to train on. If you don't like to present, if you don't like conflict, this is probably what you need to train. Okay. Not my idea. I forget who is the
That's
person
like
that came
getting out
out.
of your comfort zone, though, right? If you get out of your comfort zone and you do that, then that's one less thing that you're going to be worried about, or that your skills are going to up.
This is the entire idea of soft skills. This is why I'm saying soft skills are not so fluffy, they're not so soft. It's 80-20 in my mind. You're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And
Yep.
there's easy way to train. So not easy, but like easier way. One thing I tell people all the time, when you're buying groceries, can you talk to the cashier? Can you make an idea that the cashier need to smile? You need to find a phrase about the weather, about the day, whatever it is, to make the cashier smile. Two things will happen. One, you're training your soft skills and communication. Two, you maybe have somebody else smiled. Why not? You make the day better. Can you talk to somebody in line? There's many, many different ideas. This is one. Two, I'm a big believer of Toastmasters. I think for the money, this is the best communication and presentation training available. It literally costs you like 10 Starbucks a year, or maybe even maybe less or more. But the way these people train and explain, I think it's just fabulous. I'm not affiliated. I did the Toastmasters. I did understand about failure rewards in Toastmasters. So if you're not familiar, definitely a good idea to check it out.
Evgeniy, I just noticed you were talking about overcoming your fear, which is chapter 11 of your book, by the way. The other one that I want to mention, and it's chapter 13, soft skills at a conference.
Woohoo.
And the reason I want to do it is because I'm big at summits and going to conferences. And I think that's very key for not only networking, communication, and breaking out of your thing. And as a salesperson, conferences are really when things get done, where communication happens, where things move forward, your signing goes through, the POC you're talking about finally gets complete, whatever it is. I think that face-to-face interaction is key. While remote is great, I think you get so much more done in person, and that's where the soft skills and the soft skills at a conference come in. Talk to me more about that.
So let's quickly touch on fear and then talk about soft skills in the conference.
Oh, all right.
Okay, no, let's go.
No,
Let's talk
you're
about
good.
conference and
You're
go to
good. I
fear.
just
Okay,
mess.
okay, no, it's fine. So conference, I think about that. There's many things happening in a conference. And I learned this because I have my own conference. We spoke about this last time. And when I did my own conference, I didn't realize fully what I want as an organizer because I never had a conference. And we learned this after we did the conference. I was trying to understand what the marketing people want in the conference, what the sales people want in the conference, and what the people want in the conference as well. So it's like a triangle or whatever it is that what everybody wants. Triangle because in the end of the day, I hope marketing and sales in the company aligned. So you have marketing, sales, consumer, and people that organize the conference. And everybody wants something else. It was a very, very eye-opening. But what I basically understand and I know is people that come to a conference want two things: information or t-shirt. Sorry, this is just a reality. Okay,
Darn it, you caught me.
so the sales people or the people that are actually in the booth, they want leads, and these leads could be hot, warm, cold leads. My view is we want to collect leads, but we want to collect as much hot or warm leads as possible. Marketing metrics themselves on how many leads they have, different companies, and there's different ways to do it. But in the end of the day, when somebody comes into a booth, a person that talk to them need to have some kind of communication to understand why they're there. And I think it's totally fine if you're coming there to grab the t-shirt or the toy, whatever it is. This is the way it is. This is how it's designed. But you want to understand is there is a way for you to just give you the toy or way to explain what you do to enlighten them and maybe they'll come back later on. Or they're actually very curious about what they do and you need to understand it how not to screw it up to make sure they get to the right person. So my view is back to this communication part. If I ask, hey, John, how you doing? What are you working for? John don't he have any obligation to tell what John does in a human communication, in my view. But if I say, hi, John, I'm Evgeny, I'm solution architect for this company. Now something human comes in because I did an introduction. If John doesn't do an introduction, John will feel bad, in my view. Okay. I don't know how, what
Yep.
do you think it makes sense?
Yeah, it's like playing an emotional game with them and to actually answer and say who they are. If they say, "Hi, I'm John. Yeah, I work for that," and they're very short about it, then you know that there's a barrier up.
So you can try to open the barrier, you can understand what they do. And I don't think it's even playing. I'm just being a human. I'm introducing
Yep.
myself before I'm asking something from you. And from there, we can navigate to understand, do I need to bring a sales, marketing, a technology person, or maybe they're for XYZ. So it's a very, very interesting line. And also in many cases, companies cannot bring everyone to the conference. They may hire external people. What are these people doing? What are their job? It's so important. And we see people spending hundreds, a lot of money, like thousands of dollars on conferences, but then the booth itself is consists of people that not really up to the level to give the
Yep.
information.
Exactly. Evgeny, before we kind of wrap things up, and my biggest question that I have is when you approach or a company approaches you and says, I need help with our soft skills, how do you start this? How do you approach this for a company or even a person?
You mean to help them internally, like a workshop?
Yeah.
First of all, say thank you. Thank you for approaching. And then we have a discussion to understand that is great. I explain usually what I see and the problems I see. I also ask the customer if there's a particular problem you already have, go back to understand what they need. If this is communication, this is presentation, if this is the way the sales engineering is working, the sales is working. So we try to find an alignment where they need help. From there, I usually personally prefer to present to the team to explain to them, hey, let's do a presentation for everyone. Let's see what resonates. Let's see who will come back and say, oh, this is interesting. I want more of those. And in some cases, people want to work one-on-one. And in some cases, they want to have like a more workshop material for more people. What I think it's very interesting and very important is we have the BDR, SDRs, the junior people that sometimes need this more. And we have this amazingly technically advanced individuals that having hard time to output what's here in their mind in a very simple business language. And I think this is the most important part with all these new startups.
Evgeny, how valuable are soft skills within any type of company?
They're undervalued for sure. And they're very, very valuable because with coming of AI and artificial intelligence, a lot of the hard skills can be automated or magically done by AI. Not everything, don't get me wrong, but more and more. And the human communication, the human interaction will become more and more important.
Maybe in the future, and I'm talking decades, AI will be into the emotional aspect, but I don't think it's ever going to match the human aspect of the soft skills and be very kind of intuitive into the person that they're talking to. While they may understand it in a slight thing, I think soft skills are going to be critical. I agree with you. A lot of the hard skills can and might be automated in the future. Soft skills are the key in order to have that communication, in order to get the work done.
And they don't need to forget that the idea of communication, it may change anytime. If I'm talking to you on the phone and you just step into the puddle, something changed
Yep.
right away. You're all nice and good, and now you're angry and unhappy. And if I don't understand the bigger picture, that for human being it takes microseconds to get it there, and I don't know about AI, what's going to happen, something going to change. And we did touch base on the idea of fear before, and I want to add that none of the people I'm talking and presenting had fear training. So if I'm an amazing human being, very smart, very accomplished, and now there's a big task I need to present to board of directors, I need to do something important. Does anybody explain to me how to work with fear? And I have no idea how AI going to solve this problem.
Well, I know we're wrapping it up, but talk to me a little bit more about the fear training because I think that's fear and anxiety at the same time. If I've never done this before, present and let's use that example. I got to present to the board. I am a developer. I'm a low end or whatever it is. And how do you actually overcome or adapt to that?
So let's spend some time on these things. Our mind can do several things at the same time, not multitask. I'm talking about walking, talking on the phone, breathing, opening the car, stuff like that. So depend on the modality you're going to check. I'm talking about NLP right now. You can do from 3 to 7 things at the same time. So if your mind, for example, focusing on fear, then you have less focus point to focusing on the information and the delivery of the information you're trying to do. This is one problem. If we cannot focus on our delivery and watching the audience, then it's going to be much harder. So think about that. Two, what's happening during fear or anxiety? In many cases, we have elevated breathing. We now a bit more in a panicking mode. And again, now we're maybe sweating, something else is happening. So, very simple things to do is try to get into the zone, try to lower our heart rate, try to work on ourselves to almost force ourselves to slow down. How we can slow down? Breathing. The regular breaths per minute is about 10 to 15. If we do something like box breathing when we inhale for amount of seconds, hold for amount of seconds, exhale for amount of seconds, hold and repeat. So we have a square, and let's say it's 5 seconds per line, so 20 seconds per one breath. So in and out for a minute, right now we're doing only 3. So we just move from 12, 15 in a regular state to 3 per minute. And when we're panicking or stressed, this could be even 20. What will happen if I'm now just sit down and doing box breathing for 2, 3 minutes? I will force myself to slow down. My heartbeat will slow down, and I will pretty much force myself to get into the groove, into the flow, into the zone. I didn't invent it. You can read about this on the internet. Navy SEALs do it all the time. There is yoga breathing as well. They can do like 1 to 2 breathing, inhale for 4, exhale for 8, whatever it is. So there is similar techniques that will basically force you to slow down. There's also physical movements. We always say, oh my God, it's such a crazy day, but I went to the gym, I went for the run, and I came back refreshed. I almost like took this energy of anxiety and I transform it to physical. Another part about fear that's very, very interesting. If you think about that, fear is not always bad. If I see a kitty cat on the street, I'm not afraid. If I see a lion, I hope I'm afraid. Because if I'm not afraid, I'm going to be eaten. If I'm going to present and have this fear, and part of understanding and solving a problem is understand you have a problem. So if I know I will be scared, I already understand there's a problem. Great. Now I can do something with it. What if I'm thinking about that? That when I'm having this fear, anxiety, it means I'm excited. It means that it's important for me. It's a good sign. It means that something important happening. And now take this fear energy and put it to excitement. I'm going to use this fear and transform it to excitement. So I'm going to be very articulate. I will use my voice. I will do my best to kind of tackle this problem or opportunity as well. So there's many, many different ways to use this to make something good from supposed to be bad.
Evgeniy, this has been an enlightened conversation on soft skills in sales, soft skills in tech. I got to wrap things up, but before I do, where can people go to find more information and get a hold of your book?
So I have a unique name relatively. So Evgeniy Kharam, Evgeniy, last name Kharam, Kharam. I'm, I think only Nazir Evgeniy Kharam is on LinkedIn, and he's an English teacher. So if you find him, say hi. But everybody else, it's me. Connect on LinkedIn. I spend quite a lot of time on the book. If you go to amazon.com.ca or any of the European countries as well, just type my name. You're going to find some of the podcasts and the book. And there's a website about the book called softskillstech.ca.com, where there's everything about the book there as well.
Evgeniy, thank you so much for your time on this podcast. This has been awesome.
Thank you very much. Always enjoyed.
All right, everybody, this has been a Jon Myer Podcast. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify because guess what? We're out.